Okay, let's get going here. What we're going to do first is we're going to take a half a cup of butter flavored Crisco. And the reason I switched to Crisco this time is because when I've used butter, I have not been able to handle the dough without freezing it in between everything I did with it. So if I mixed it, then I had to put it in the freezer. Then I would bring it out and roll it, and then I'd have to put it in the freezer because it got so soft in this kitchen, which is currently cool for this kitchen. It's only 80. Typically, it's about 90 in here. I guess that's what you get for living in the tropics. I'm not complaining. Back home, they're having to run their furnaces already, so I'm not trading. Now we're gonna, with the Crisco, we're gonna put our sugar, which is a half a cup of granulated sugar. And then we're just gonna beat that together for a while until it fluffs up a little bit. And in our bowl of 1 cup of flour, we're going to add a 1/3 cup of cocoa and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. We are not using any baking soda, baking powder, anything like that. We don't want these cookies to rise up. Also, to enhance the chocolate flavor a little bit, I'm going to add just a half a teaspoon of instant coffee. You won't pick up any coffee flavor that way, but the chocolate flavor will be stronger. What we're hoping for is a dough that we can work with, maybe with chilling it just in the refrigerator, but not needing to put it into the freezer. Generally, for flavor, I would prefer to work with butter. But when you're trying to do a cookie that's 1/8 of an inch thick, it just doesn't work. Okay, this is all stirred up. We can set this aside now. I had someone tell me today they couldn't do any of my recipes for cookies and such because they don't have a stand mixer. You don't need a stand mixer. You can do this. You could do it with a whisk. I really wouldn't want to, but you could. You can easily do it with a hand mixer. I just prefer this. I have it. It was a gift from my wife several years ago now. That's looking pretty good. So now we're going to add 1 egg and a teaspoon of vanilla. And at this point, I'm going to put a little black food coloring in. I'm going to go with a pinch size spoon, I think. I did a nice dark gray anyway. Knock all that stuff down. You see what I mean about a nice dark gray? Okay, let's add some flour. Now let's do it by hand. I always like to mix it by hand at the end because that way I can be assured I've got everything off the bottom. And also I don't overmix it. Mixing it with a mixer, it's pretty easy to overmix it. What happens with overmixing it is it can develop gluten strands. And if it does that, then our cookies are going to be pretty tough. Okay, now in theory, but this is only theory, we'll be able to take this dough, put it on a sheet of parchment paper, and roll it. Now I have this roller set so it's 1/8 of an inch thick, guides on the end. So in theory, we're going to get dough that is 1/8 of an inch thick. And I'm going to do about half of it to begin with. I'm going to push it down with my hand and then push it down with the roller. Always get these wrinkles when I do this between 2 sheets of parchment paper. Always. Never have not done that. Okay, now in theory, this one will roll back. We're really looking good so far. And we use this little jar cover. I don't know what it's for. As a cookie cutter. I'm just pushing right straight down like you would if you were making biscuits, hoping that I get a nice straight edge. All right, we've got that far. I'm going to get brave, get a cookie sheet, and try putting these on the cookie sheet at this time. I'm going to turn on the oven. If this doesn't work, that's okay. No, I'm gonna chill this for a few minutes. Now, pretty likely by the time those cookies are cool, these cookies will be ready to go in the refrigerator, and the ones that are in the refrigerator will be able to come out and go in the oven. Or at least that's the plan. This is about the third or fourth attempt to make these cookies. I tried them first with powdered sugar and melted butter, and that was a disaster as far as handling them goes. So then I tried it with, and the first one only had egg white. And then I tried it with granulated sugar and a whole egg, and that was much better, but still at high temperatures like this kitchen, it was not really working. They were too difficult to handle. All right, this batch is going to go in the refrigerator, but I'm going to have to wait for that batch to come out because my refrigerator is full because we went shopping today. Okay, it's been a good solid 15 minutes since we put these in the refrigerator. So let's see how it's working now. We get this edges out of the way. Then let's see if we can pick up a cookie without deforming it too badly. That one looks good so far. This one is a mess. This one looks good. These don't, I was just about to say, we're going to start greasing up our little spatula, which also means greasing up my fingers because they're slippery right now. Nope. Okay, this time we're going to grease up our parchment paper lightly. I really don't want to give up on these cookies, partly because I'm a stubborn type anyway, and partly because they're going to be really good. Just have to convince it that they're really going to be good. Okay, now we're going to roll this out again. And we'll cut it again. And then we'll put it in the fridge again. After several frustrating hours of trying to get these cookies done, I finally gave up and I put them in the freezer overnight. I got up at about 6 in the morning and started working on them again. And we're going to take off from that point. So here's the rest of the cookie making. There's a lot to work with in this pan, so we need to work really quickly. Don't know why, but those are rolled out awfully thin on the edge. These were in the freezer overnight, and they're still so soft within a minute of getting them out of there that they're very difficult to get off of the parchment paper. That may be a factor of having shortening in them instead of butter, because butter would freeze more solid. I think probably, I'm thinking about it, and I think probably if I'm going to have to freeze them anyway, I probably will make them with butter. The flavor is a little bit better, not a lot of difference, but a little bit. I do like the texture with the shortening better, so perhaps what I'll do next time is 50-50. Half butter, half shortening. Let's try that next time. And it probably will be a next time because I think that the Thin Mint cookies are going to come out great. Actually, I think that all of them are going to come out great. Okay, so the first tray has been out long enough to cool off, so we'll put them on a cooling rack so that I can have this pan. I did discover that it's better to take the pan to the freezer than bring the cookies to the pan. I have another stove sitting beside the freezer. So I just put the pan on top of that, pull the pan out of the freezer, quickly unload the cookies. Still didn't get them all unloaded, but I got most of them. I just put another pan in the oven, so I better set the timer, and I'm gonna go get more cookies. 10 minutes seems to be the perfect time in my oven. It may vary with yours, so 10 is a guideline. They come out perfectly for me, but that may not be the case if your oven is slightly different temperature. So what you want to do is check them after like 8 minutes maybe. The problem with them being so dark is you can't tell when the edges are browned. Beautiful, aren't they? Nice, little, round, flat on the bottom. But I can't tell you enough how hard these are to work with. I considered calling this video pita cookies. Some of you will know what that means. According to my thermometer and my hygrometer, it is 78.5 degrees and 86% humidity at 8:08 in the morning. Okay, some of these cookies are going to have a vanilla filling like an Oreo cookie does. For that, we're going to need a cup of confectioner's sugar, which I've sifted, a teaspoon of cornstarch, which should help stabilize the icing and make it less likely to squish out of the cookie, and 4 ounces of butter, which needs to be very soft. We're going to start by whisking the cornstarch into the flour, into the powdered sugar. And the way this is supposed to work is the cornstarch takes some of the moisture away from the butter. So it needs to, after we mix it, it needs to sit for at least 15 minutes so that the cornstarch can hydrate and take the moisture out of the butter and out of the buttercream so that it's stiffer. The butter's getting soft, but I wouldn't call it very soft yet. But let's take a look. We'll use the hand mixer this morning. We'll also, in addition to the sugar and the cornstarch, we're going to want a pinch of salt, which I will put in now before I forget it. It looks like I'm going to use a lot, but I'm not. I'm just grabbing a tiny little bit. And we're also going to use a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And I'm going to wait to add that, I guess. And I'm actually going to move the butter over into the other bowl because I like the other bowl better. Okay, let's mix this up. I'm going to add the vanilla now because this is not coming together at all, because it has no liquid. Had I been thinking, I would have used clear vanilla. Okay, we're going to let this sit for about 15 minutes and then I'll be back. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to take some of this icing that we just made and we're going to put it between a couple of cookies. And the idea is, hopefully, that it doesn't squish out of here too badly. And that's supposed to, yeah, that's not bad. That's supposed to represent an Oreo cookie. And it certainly does. Oh, that's good. And earlier, I made raspberry filling the same way, but I used raspberry jam as the flavor. So let's see what that's like. It's even better. I don't know if there's a raspberry Oreo, but if there's not, there certainly should be. Okay, let's make some sandwich cookies. Now, when you make these, you will find that one side, where it sat on the pan, is very smooth. That's the side we want on the inside. Now, obviously, you can control how much filling you put in these. And my plan is these are going to go in the refrigerator because this is buttercream and it will get a little firmer and not squish out quite so much when we eat the cookies. And I can guarantee you we will be eating the cookies. And that's our filled cookies. That's all there is to it. Again, working with this dough is a serious pain, but once you get them made, they're worth the effort. Look at this beauty right here. Thanks for watching.